Hi, I'm from out of town. Can you tell?
Okay, Charles, we're live here back in Times Square.
We are.
Look, McDonald's is advertising ice cream, which even Elon Musk says he can't fix. The broken ice cream at McDonald's. Oh, look at this. An ad for vaccines.
Bubbles, Jason.
What do you think of that, Charles?
I don't like it.
Well,
So before we get too much into it, I think we have to pay homage or personage to the art and comedian departments
thank
who
you.
have outdone themselves. How big is the team now? It's what, 12,000 people?
It's me,
Oh, okay.
but this is an awesome, not to distract from your accolades of me, but I like that little illusion of a 3D box. Charles, let's just explain for everybody today's theme of,
Here's Joe Biden.
yeah, poop
Right here.
guy. Oh my God. Poop guy, the failure man, and his, this is olive oil as Kamala Harris, and he's
Who is
knocking out
oily.
Trump, unfortunately.
Kamala Harris is oily.
They've got Hunter Biden in tow, and of course, Bill Clinton will gladly pay you Tuesday for a Clinton Foundation contribution today.
Yeah, maybe let's go up towards CNN and across the park.
Sure.
But
No, I don't.
this guy looks sketchy. But
So
anyway,
many sketchy.
what I think,
Uh-oh.
what caused me to think of the movie was the abysmal performance, and I mean horrible performance of Joe Biden in that press conference, that speech and supposed answer session, question and answer session. What is this?
What? Oh, tips, Charles.
What?
Well, you're talking about the woman seeking tips or
No,
the tap dancing?
The dancing.
That's tap dancing.
Whatever it is. Let's keep moving.
Not a
though.
sport.
What?
George
Or-
Carlin did this whole thing about what is or isn't a sport.
Right.
People can send that to Eric Adams. This guy's about 100 pounds overweight for being a cop, and he's texting.
Well, I'm sure it's important. Not.
So, Poop Eye, the abysmal
Yeah.
performance.
So the press
Poop
conference. There's Dana Perino, who in quotes distinguished herself as George W. Bush's press secretary in his final year of failing as president in 2008. And it's until Bite Me came along, it's tough to remember what actually happened under Carter. But this performance by Bite Me, Joe Biden that is, was gibberish. I mean, it's the kind of stuff where when I don't know a subject, I won't talk about it. Joe Biden is clueless. He has no understanding of economics, no understanding of reality, no ability to remember that people can check what he said in the past or did in the past, and people have access to data. We don't rely on what comes fumbling out of his mouth to regulate our lives. And for him to get up there yesterday, knowing as he did, as a guest, that he knew what the CPI number, the inflation number, was going to be.
The Consumer Price Index.
Right, because that number is calculated in a process, and that the thing has to be typed up, the release, and it's embargoed, and it's certainly distributed to his national security advisor.
But what does that cost, Consumer Price Index, even
Let's keep going, Jason.
measure? Well, this cop just looks super excited to be talking to
Yeah,
the
the-
police station. Couldn't possibly be a personal call.
Right.
Eric
I know.
Adams is curious to know what these police officers are doing because
I know, but the other guy
nothing.
was noticing you.
I know.
I just didn't want to get into an altercation. Let's keep going.
Sorry. So Joe Biden, the cost.
So he
Consumer
had to
Price
know
Index.
that the consumer price index was coming in hot at 8.3%. 8.3% is a killer. I mean, that is a very large increase year over year in the cost of living.
Well, help us. Oh, this is the thing you told us about where they measure steak and all that and then change it for ground beef.
Well, yeah, what they do is it's actually there's something called the Consumer Expenditure Survey, which is a very interesting document, and the government goes back many decades, and the government claims that it is among the most accurate of the surveys that they carry out. Now, I happen to know the big banks that issue credit cards do their own type of thinking.
Because they don't trust it?
Right, because they have the ability to see what people are actually
buying, right, on the credit cards.
And so the first issue in constructing an index here is how do you weight the different components? If you make a mistake and you overweight something that is flat or declining in a rising price environment,
it's totally wrong.
And the reverse is true too. So as anything like anything else, you have to, when you talk about inflation, you have to ask yourself, what are you really talking about?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the cost once you graduated from college and you're settled into a job and you've got your first house and you've bought all the furniture that you need? Are you talking about the cost of living when you're 50? Or are you talking about the cost of living when you're saving up for college? Or are you talking about the cost of living when you're worried about high medical costs at the end of your life? So, of course, that's not done properly. And in addition, this great nation and our various territories have unusual cost issues. Manhattan is extremely expensive. Hawaii is extremely expensive. Rural Montana, not so much. Let's keep going.
More cops texting. Sending this to Eric Adams. Enjoy. Doing nothing.
Right. So, in rural Montana, rural New York, rural Vermont, you're going to have a very different cost structure than you might have here in Manhattan. So Biden had to have knowledge that the number was not a good number. He had to know that the Republicans' basic position is inflation is running hot now and not transitory because Joe Biden, the idiot in chief, on the first day of office said, you know what, all this work that Donald Trump had done to cause our oil and gas sector to explode in activity. Let's go by these guys. All of that has led to the economic boom that occurred pre-pandemic under Trump. And the idiot in chief gets sworn in, and the first thing he does is he cancels the expansion of the oil and gas industry. He cancels a pipeline that was ready to go. Jesus.
He thinks he's helping, Charles.
Right. So if you want to understand why prices are high, when you cause the price of energy to go up, energy is not only something you have to pay for to get around and stay cool and hot. Energy price is reflected in almost every single product. So when you cause that price to spike by your own action, and you insist that so long as you're president, you're going to be waging a war on fossil fuels, and then worse, when you get to the point of people questioning your wisdom, you say
blame it on Putin.
You say that this is actually an opportunity because it will allow us to transition to clean energy more rapidly.
Stupid.
And this is, you're looking. I was on the phone with our friends in Norway today, and also actually on taped a show with our friends in Norway. It should be appearing momentarily. They send their regards to you and to our viewers as well. They explained that Norway, which has got an enormous amount of geothermal energy and an enormous amount of natural gas and oil, has ineptly made a decision to export their electricity to Britain and Germany. So they now have a shortage of electricity in Norway.
That's pretty
and the
smart.
prices have gone way up. And there's talk that they're actually going to ration electricity in Norway.
Yeah, awesome.
Which is, a brilliant maneuver. In Sri Lanka, the fools who have been listening to George Soros and his various left-leaning idiots took Sri Lanka and said, this energy that you already have, why don't you decommission those plants and we'll transition to this new thing that won't produce as much energy. So now we have food riots. We had pandemonium in Sri Lanka.
Wow. Well, it probably started out that way, no?
Yeah, and it's when you get involved. I mean, it wasn't a very big oil company that my partners and I financed and then built from a very small level of production, 27 barrels a day, up to over 2,000 barrels a day. But this was done in France, in various locations in France. So we got to see the regulatory super state of France in action. And when you're talking energy, justifiably, there are a lot of controls and regulations that govern how you take the stuff out of the ground, if you're taking it out of the ground or the water, how you store it, how you ship it, how you price it, when you get paid. It's very complicated, and it requires a lot of capital investment. So you can't say, on the one hand, I'm Joe Biden, fuck the oil and gas industry, but I want you guys to invest a lot of money and produce
something that's not invented yet.
Yeah, and produce a lot of oil. You're not producing enough oil and gas because I threatened to tax you and excess profit tax and all this kind of stuff. Well, you don't have to do oil and gas in America. You can do it many other places in the world, and quite a few of them are really happy to see investment in oil and gas and reward people who bring capital in and don't treat you like the enemy.
But Charles, the plan that you've just described that Biden is doing,
it's pronounced bite me.
Bite me is shutting down the oil industry and then saying, oh, now it's a good opportunity to get into renewable energy. It's like burning down your own house and saying, oh, now it's a good opportunity to move.
It's like saying, when your 2-year-old finally is steady on his or her feet, it's like saying, okay, we're going to go to Times Square, and I'm sick and tired of filling up your bottle all the time. Why don't you take this $100 bill and go over there to that deli,
buy us something to drink.
And why you gotta get me a damn sandwich? I mean, it's ridiculous that these people, from Pete Buttigieg, edge, idiot, to others, they don't understand business at all.
I don't think they understand even what they're supposed to be doing.
They understand power.
That's some bad weed these two are smoking.
Yeah, that's not going to stunt their growth.
You guys, you got to smoke the female plant. Anyway.
Shut up, Grandpa.
If it's got seeds in it, that's bad. Sensimilia. Anyway.
So he starts with there. He should have let off and said, one of the reasons that we're in this predicament is the ill-advised decision I made to stop these pipelines effective immediately. We're going to open them back up. But of course he can't do that because the left will cut what is left of his nuts off if he does that. So that's one thing. Then to try to claim that, as he always begins, as he says, I know some of you, and I would really commend our viewership to watch this thing in its entirety. If your poison is wine, drink wine. If your poison is pot, try that, if it's legal where you are.
Oh.
And be prepared to be in a position to stop the broadcast and comment. Because it
Vomit?
is comment, not vomit. But you can do that too.
I heard what you said. It was funnier this way.
Yeah, and so he gets up there and he says, I know inflation is a kitchen table issue. At my own kitchen table growing up, when the price of food and gas went up, that was a real issue for our family. There's only one problem with that story. None of it's true.
Right.
And it's been debunked. It's already, he's had 3 Pinocchios on that story. Then he tried to do the old Obama straw man argument. Some would say the Republicans have a plan. Their plan is to kill all the grandparents, kill all the babies.
Right. I was like, wait a minute, that's your plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, right. Sorry, turn the page. Next cue card.
Exactly. And so he went through that. He claimed to have reduced the deficit by $350 billion. That is not true. He's claimed an economic miracle in terms of getting people increasing jobs, but they're not increased jobs. These are people returning to the jobs they used to have.
For the same amount of money while everything else is going up.
Yeah, getting a salary that in real terms, after inflation and taxes, is less after tax and inflation than it was back in 2020.
And you got to pay more for gas to get there.
Right.
Every day.
And so that was ridiculous. And then then he gets up there and he's trying to, how somebody makes a mistake. I always, you'll notice, back away from technical details of anything that we're doing here. I'm
Well,
not
I
going to
thought
try.
that's because I'm freaking out about to have a conniption.
Well, no, it's more because I know I can't learn enough to be of value fast enough to what you already know. So why should I waste my time doing that? Why don't I focus
It's
on?
very wise of you. A lot of people are like,
Right, and I'm not going to try.
unplug the headphones, put the thing in the...
And I'm not going to try to pretend that because I've done thousands of interviews, I'm a TV expert. You know, I'm not. It's just I know how to talk. But anyway, so then he gets up and he tries to be avuncular Joe. You know, he's trying to say,
Oh, he's
I
sniffing
got
little
this.
kid?
Yeah, I got this. He said, you know, I know you're worried about
Oh, yeah,
inflation.
the whispering. Nobody likes that.
And he says, I can taste it.
Yeah, that was so weird.
How do you
And he
taste
looked
inflation?
off the prompter.
I know.
And like that was something that came into his brain by accident. That was not on the card.
Right, and then he tried, you know that skit, the leg bone's connected to the knee bone or whatever.
Yeah.
He says, well, listen, our team, we have a plan, unlike the Republicans. Our
Yeah.
team got together with people on the West Coast. You know, you've got these goods that are coming in on ships, and then you got to take them from the ships to the port.
Yeah.
And then you got to take them from the port off the ship to a warehouse. And then you got to take them from the warehouse to someplace in the country. And that's complicated. Like, Joe, what is this, 3rd grade?
Yeah, it's like a conversation with a 4-year-old where they're explaining something and you're engaging with them because it's amazing that this young person can speak and have thoughts, but none of this makes any sense.
This is a Thomas the Tank Engine, for Christ's
Right.
sake. I mean, what are you talking about? And, and this is the President of the United States mumbling there. And then he said something like, he's talking about the challenges. He said, actually, you know, one of the strengths of our economy is inflation. Like, no,
Yeah,
moron.
what is he talking about?
Well, the argument is that, and it's a bullshit argument, that when an economy overheats and grows quickly, that can be a sign of a robust growth period. And it can theoretically be a sign of it. The underlying economy is actually very strong, so strong that you're running out of key inputs and therefore the prices for those have to go up. But that's not why prices are high.
Right.
Now, in our case, you've got to understand the structural issues in this economy. And then he gets up and he says, you know, this is, from the school of thought, the economic school of thought, that the morale will improve.
Well, the beatings will stop when morale
Right.
improves.
Exactly. And he gets up there and he says, you know, in the private sector, it's important to have competition.
Right.
And you know, we don't have enough competition. Like, stop, fool. You know, the biggest piece of the American economy is government, where there is no competition. That's the biggest piece. And you see that in government spending, and where you see, for example, take the issue of private prisons. You have the situation where
Dick
unions
Cheney.
have pushed the cost, and dumbass politicians have pushed the cost of certain types of public sector workers, including their pensions and benefits, off the stratosphere. So they come up with off into the stratosphere. So they come up with this brilliant idea. What we'll do is we'll pay those people anyway, but in addition to, quote, save money.
How does that save
It's
money?
ridiculous. It's like when they talk about cutting spending. They're not cutting spending. You know how to cut spending. I know how to cut spending. Last year you spent $100,000. This year you're spending $25,000. That's a cut.
Yeah.
When they say cut in spending, what they mean is, you know, it grew at 12% last year. We'll only have it grow at 7.5% this year. That's not a cut at all. And
This
anyway,
is the police with a V12. This is the police with a Maybach? What the hell is going on?
saves well.
What does that say? Police department. That's an unmarked vehicle. What the hell is the police department doing with a Maybach?
I don't know. Living large,
Your Maybach? The cops have a Maybach.
pretty nice.
I
That
think
looks
those
like
are
is that
cops too.
bulletproof. Is that bulletproof reinforcement? I think it might be.
Probably.
Yeah. Let's get away from that.
Yeah, those guys are doing something.
Yeah.
What is that?
They're probably
3 Columbus
collecting.
Circle.
They're probably collecting their weekly.
What the hell are the
protection
police
money.
doing with an undercover
Oh,
Maybach?
Jason, come on. You know, these are important people. So here we
And
are.
I'm here like broadcasting, hey, NYPD Maybach, good disguise.
That's right.
You're like, get out of here.
That's right. There's this guy from
He could be the police captain.
He probably is. And we have Louis Vuitton store.
The amount of illegal sales going on, particularly marijuana over there on 7th Avenue, it's a cause for concern. That is a gang growing.
Or it's a sign.
The economy is back.
Right. Let's
No,
go around
seriously,
this way.
those guys, every day they earn money doing that. They're gaining power and
Right.
ability to do more
Right.
criminal stuff.
So we'll just finish on the Popeye idea. So Biden's speech was so absurd. He finally finishes it. Somebody tried to ask him a question about abortion, and he says, no, I don't want the story today to be about abortion. I want it to be about inflation. I'm not going to take that question.
Oh.
Dude, you don't get that right.
You got to
That's the way
answer
it
whatever
works.
they ask.
I mean, honestly, what I would be doing if I were chair of the White House, whatever it's called, Correspondents Association, I'd say, listen, you're not getting any coverage of any kind unless we have a Trumpian-style grilling once a week. It's not like you're here in heaven because you've done such a great job on earth. You're in fucking hell. You've done everything that you have touched has turned to shit.
Yeah.
And these people are supposed to throw sunlight on it, are not even being given a chance to ask questions. Mumbles gets up there, says a few stupid ass things. They accept it. They don't call him on anything.
Charles, at least if he would turn something into shit, we could use it as fertilizer.
Which we need.
Exactly.
Right, there's a point.
He just
Jason.
turns it toxic.
Just say, henceforth every day, no more use of toilets. Our farmers need fertilizers. If you need to deal with it, you're going to report to this field over here. And Joe's going to be the one shoveling it. But anyway, so then some brave soul, a guy, why don't we go up the west side to 72nd and over? Is that a good idea?
Yeah.
So some brave soul says to him, Biden had referred to a Republican Senator, Rick Scott, as the senator from Wisconsin.
Right.
When
which
he's
is
actually,
not.
Rick Scott is from Florida.
Yeah.
And Ron Johnson is from Wisconsin. But anyway, this reporter gets
No, I
up.
think he said he was from Wyoming, didn't he?
No,
Or
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
And the questioner says, and I don't know who this person was, but he was pretty brave. He gets up and says, Mr. President, anticipating your comments, your negative comments, Senator Scott has come up with a new plan for how to move the economy forward. And the president said, well, what's that? Your resignation immediately. and Biden said, that's a good idea.
Did he really?
Yes.
I missed that part.
Softly. I think he was trying to be
funny,
cynical or whatever, or sarcastic. But I mean, it was one of these things, when you're the General Custer performance, right? He didn't do so well.
He's more like General Custard.
Yeah. I mean,
Actually, let's just for a moment, Charles, we can still enjoy racist conqueror Christopher Columbus.
Yeah, still there.
There he is. Well, Joe Biden is pathetic.
But it's just one of those things where you can't, I don't even think Simon Cowell could do justice. It was worse than a shebang moment. It was just unbelievably atrocious. Let's leave the guy.
That's a genius, Charles.
I know. Probably going right into the Supreme Court.
Exactly. Hey, are you a biologist? We could use your input.
But seriously, if you had, what I've learned the most is when you just are starting something and you try something, you give it a good faith effort, but you flop, and somebody takes you under his or her wing and says, listen, you obviously don't know this, and you didn't know that, and you didn't know this, and next time you do it, make sure you do it this way,
right.
not that way, whatever. That's the kind of discussion somebody needs to have with Mumbles. But of course, he's not going to listen. He's going to say, I've been in this business 50 years.
Okay.
I know.
I love it when people say that.
Right.
You've been an idiot for 50 years.
Yeah, more longer than that.
Is this
a long line of idiots? And I love the way they pronounce it in Ireland. Idiot.
Yeah.
Idiot. But anyway, it was just absolutely pathetic. And how he could believe that he'd get away with this, that nobody would notice what a screw-up he is.
It's a Pomeranian, dude. This dog has papers.
What?
Big Lebowski. Wasn't that a Pomeranian?
I don't know anything about dogs.
But the thing is, in the Big Lebowski, the dog is very obviously not at all a Pomeranian. And he's got it at the bowling alley.
So this is the billionaire apartment building.
And they don't even have a Maybach. They better call the cops.
Many, many billionaires in here.
He's right there.
Including Lloyd Blankfein, former CEO of Goldman.
The cops are wasting money, Charles.
They're wasting away in Margaritaville.
Well, they could text from there, but they're just giving out cell phones and they're all texting,
Right.
buying Maybachs to be undercover. Why do you need that? A 500?
Is it 500,000?
No, I'm saying a Mercedes 500 wouldn't be enough. The Maybach, I think, is 200,000 or 300,000.
Wow.
Couldn't the cops get a $100,000 car to be undercover in?
I like to start by, couldn't the cops say, effective forthwith, there will be no bike swarms in this city? None of that.
No bikes on the sidewalk. You just need the
Well,
mayor
bike
to come out
swarms are the ones that are
and
real
say, there are places in the city where you can ride bikes and there are places where you can't. And we're announcing today that if you are on a wheeled vehicle in a park, on a sidewalk, or in any area that you're not allowed to be, you're going to get an expensive ticket.
Right.
And if you're getting them all the time, you're going to be thrown in jail overnight, and you're going to have to go to court and get
Right.
lawyers and pay summonses and generate money for the city that way by giving out tickets to criminals.
Well, I mean, that would be too hard on vulnerable communities, Jason. The press conference was an abysmal failure. Dana Perina referred to it as an utter failure, and she's generally not too negative. An utter failure.
Something not nice.
Go ahead.
This looks like an awesome scientific robot project by a smart kid.
Oh, well, this is the school here.
Well, he's holding some kind of robotic thing. I love that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Little kids who make things. Anybody
Oh,
who
yeah,
makes
this is
something.
the Fieldston Ethical
Oh
Culture.
man, look at the address, Charles. Fieldston is
So there are
33.
three hill schools. There's Riverdale, there's Fieldston, and there's Horace Mann. Those are we've been up to Horace Mann, and this is the school for artistic type kids. Riverdale's the school for jocks, and Horace Mann's the school for eggheads, typically.
This woman does not agree.
Well, it was when I went there. So,
Well, it's dedicated to the ever-increasing knowledge and practice and love of the right
well, these
and the number 33.
but the schools are all phenomenally expensive. I mean, nowadays I think these are day schools, and I think you're talking upwards of $50,000 for nursery school. There's
Wow.
no Brosnan.
Yeah, what is that doing all
I
over
think
the
it's just a
place?
private security operation.
But I've seen 3 now today,
That's a big private security operation.
but I don't see it normally.
Oh, I've seen it before. I think, isn't this from Ghostbusters? The Prasada? Isn't that one of the
Maybe.
finals? Yeah.
Yeah, that's where Sigourney Weaver was living.
Well, where they have the ghosts on the
Yeah, Zool.
Zool, exactly. I think it was here. I could be wrong. So this, for people who don't know Manhattan, this is pricey real estate here. It's also kind of a pain in the ass to live over here because you've got to go several blocks to find shops. But
You're rich. You could have people bring you stuff.
yeah, and you have, if you're on a higher floor, you have a nice view of the park. And I remember when I was looking almost 40 years ago at the stuff over here on the east side. The challenge is these views are obviously looking east. So that's a view that's fun in the morning, but you don't get the sunset looking that way.
That's true.
And these apartments are generally much bigger. Floors are higher, ceilings are higher rather, and you can get, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 room apartments, and some people join them together and have these massive things. So these apartments in the old buildings tend to be big. On the Fifth Avenue side, you have the better views because you're looking west at night, so you have the sunset. But then there are some apartment buildings.
Well,
But
I think if you're a truly baller, you've got a 360 view.
well, that's tough.
Millions, Charles.
Millions. Are you talking? Some of these apartments now are going for over 100 million. And then that's the kind of apartment that a Bill Clinton or a Joe Biden would try to buy, not realizing that the second you plunk down the money, now you're in the New York City tax net and
Right.
you're totally screwed.
Right. I guess it's not really a value proposition. People,
It's a value destruction proposition.
yeah, sort of.
It's like, please come to my city filled with communist pukes and thugs and advertise that you're among the richest people on the planet. Don't worry, we won't steal your money.
Well, there's somebody who's robbing all kinds of watches, and
Oh yeah.
it's just mad
You mean Biden?
crime. And those idiot cops are standing around texting, not even looking.
talking
And when
about-
they're not even ashamed. They're proud to be like, yeah, go tell Eric Adams I'm doing nothing.
Well, that's because they have the union behind them. They know that even if they do something wrong, or especially after they do something wrong, the process of disciplining a police officer takes forever. And
Well, it's sad that they, don't want to do what the job is supposed to be. They just want to stand around.
yeah. So anyway, I think we've covered what's left of the Biden press conference. If I were he, I would just shut my damn pie hole from now through the election and understand if he survives that long physically, that he will be completely out of power January 3rd or whatever the first business day is of 2023. Because he literally, your worst fears about a Biden administration pale in comparison to what this fool has
Has
accomplished.
actually done, yeah.
Quotes in less than a year and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, a year and a half is July. We need to keep going. I think it's across 72nd.
Well, people had suggested they wanted us to hang out on the Upper East Side.
We're gonna go across the park.
Yeah.
We're giving them a full walk.
Right.
It's actually the first nicest day.
It's really nice. It's about 70 degrees. I don't understand.
That's
In
why
the
I'm only
winter,
wearing
you're
two
wearing
coats.
no socks, and now it's 70 and you have this coat on.
And a jacket.
It's very odd.
Not at odd. It's just
But-
I like to use my clothes.
Okay. Now, Charles, there was an article in Sputnik News earlier today which basically added a lot of detail to the information that we've been talking about with John Mark Dugan and John Cullen.
Right.
Basically, Cullen had found, by going back into the Internet Archive and looking at previous iterations of the U.S. Embassy in Kiev website, he found all these contracts and construction plans and
Right.
letters seeking diplomatic credentials for scientists coming from South Africa and different NATO countries and stuff. And then now Sputnik has put together a huge report from the Russian Ministry of Defense. What did you make of all that?
Well, again, I'm not in a position to verify it, but what I found interesting were several points. The first is that the Russian government, unlike the U.S. government, the Russian government puts this report out in its name, arranges to translate major portions of it into English, and the way John Solomon does, the way we used to do when we did the presentations with the slides, not only do they make the statements that they make in the summary, but they provide the evidence so you can go check it out, which is, I think, as you like to say, a baller move. I mean, pretty sure of your ground. So now it's up to the famed journalist community
They're
to
saying
go into
nothing.
that. Well, it only just came out today. So it's very lengthy, but in sum and substance, it alleges that foundations connected to prominent Democrat
Careful,
politicians,
this guy's got reverse on.
prominent Democrat politicians, specifically named the Clinton Foundation, the Biden Foundation, the Gates Foundation. I don't think it mentioned the Obama Foundation, but it alleges that foundations connected to politically powerful Democrats were channeling money into Ukraine and were engaged in certain scientific efforts that appeared to me, and again, I'm not a scientist, but appear from what I was reading, if it's true, that we might have financed projects that come very close, if not get right into handling bioweapons in Ukraine and experimenting with different ways to use those weapons to target people
Yeah.
of certain types of DNA and
Ethnicities, right.
right. And you know, if Russia had been doing that in Canada, or China had been doing that in Canada, which maybe they have been doing,
Yes.
I think we'd be pretty damn upset if we had a real president and a real FBI and a real CIA.
Who wasn't involved.
Yeah, who wasn't benefiting from it. So this is a blockbuster set of claims. And it's not, Seymour Hersh writing a book about it, or somebody on the left.
Do you doubt him because you think he might be manipulated by the CIA?
No, it's an official allegation from a government challenging other governments. Say, hey, you broke these treaties that you signed in ways that are absolutely outrageous, and you've been doing it for a while, and now you've been lying about us for a long time to cover this up.
Yes.
You've been doing it when Joe Biden's family was taking money from the Ukraine.
Yes.
So, I think if you start, it's either going to be, we'll hear momentarily from, the useful idiot crew in the mainstream media, corporate-owned media, oh, this is disinformation,
Right.
this is ridiculous.
That's what they're going to say.
We're going to try, but
That's why they have this Disinformation Governance Bureau.
Well, I don't know
board.
that they're going to get away with it that easily, because here you do have facts that somebody's
go
going
on that side.
Sure. We want to cross 72nd if we can.
Well, then we'll get some more trees. I think I'm starting to have allergies. My nose was running before.
I'm not a doctor. It's very pretty, huh?
Yeah.
So,
nice
so I think that's quite a significant development. I reached out to Katya, and we'll see if we get a reaction from her. I'm not sure that all the stuff that's provided. I only looked at a few of the links, and the ones I found were either somewhere in garbled English. But I fully expect the Russians are going to pound the table on this. And at the same time, the Europeans were saying, oh, we're not going to buy Russian gas. What?
That's a new type of city bike,
It's electric bike. Yeah, they've had electric bikes around.
But that's a new one.
Yeah. So the EU has revealed that many of the member states have been still buying Russian gas. So all this nonsense about we're not going to do this anymore is just
That's why the ruble is doing so well. They're banking money.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. There's always people who magically have a pace that's
They always
the perfect speed to wobbling all over the street.
Right.
What is this right here, Charles?
That's the Dakota.
Ah, yes, of course, where John Lennon used to live.
He was shot right in front of here, wasn't he?
Yeah, and we're going to be close to Strawberry Fields in here.
It's right over there, isn't it?
Maybe we should check it out. We've been there before, but people enjoy that.
I think it's Strawberry Fields forever.
Exactly. I don't have that much time, though. They don't have any strawberries there either.
No. Here's a flat rate, $4.99.
Ah. So, I don't know that we're done talking about that other topic, but there was that guy, what is his name? This Israeli guy, Noah Harari or something.
You were talking about him. He's the guy who's close to Klaus Schwab.
He's like Klaus Schwab's right-hand man, and he's saying that, the Nazis and the Stasi couldn't really control people, and now humans are hackable, he was saying.
I mean, this Klaus Schwab is a seriously...
This is it.
He's a seriously demented person.
Blackbird. I am no music expert.
I can tell
but
you
it
that.
seems to me that guy was kind of missing it somehow.
I'd say that was crapola.
Yeah.
That's the school of music that was.
Anyway, I have discussed with you, Charles, many times. I don't know if I've spoken about it here on the show.
That's cute.
What is he doing?
Art class or something?
But I mean, we're all very well aware that if I tell you, oh, I love Adidas Boost shoes, later when I get home and look at the internet, they'll be like, Adidas Boost shoes, go get some.
Right.
And we know how that works. The phone is listening, you install an app, you click OK, and you just agreed to allow it to listen to everything you're doing and sell you stuff. But I have separately begun to believe that...
it's an interesting smell, whatever that was.
Yeah. along the lines of what this Harari guy was saying, they have so much information that they've been collecting for the past 10 years through social media
Right.
and these Amazon web server things that are, the government is down with Amazon and getting all of your information. And then you put all of that, like everything you've bought on your credit card, everywhere you go every day, everything you look at on the internet, and you track that for 10 years.
Right.
And Elon Musk is talking about this as well. Download your brain and upload it into a Optimus robot and kind of create a digital model of your brain. I think there's a lot of research going on into that. And I don't know if what this Harari guy was saying is true or something that's going to be true, but I have had, and I'm sure it's just coincidental, the feeling that like the internet is reading my mind. And something crazy happened yesterday.
What was that?
Well, when I was about 10 years old, I went with my brother, and you remember that guy we ran into on, where was it? University Place.
Right.
He's an old friend of my brother's. So the three of us went to see this movie at the Hicksville Twin, which is no longer there, called Treasure of the Four Crowns. Which was a knockoff of Indiana Jones and a terrible film, but 3D.
Oh, wow.
And it was really one of the first 3D movies that I remember seeing. And it was amazing. And then the funny thing is, in 2010, when we premiered the horror film I was the cinematographer for at this Texas Scream Fest thing, the director of Treasure of the Four Crowns, he was there because it was like a 3D festival they were having. And I was like, wow, Tony Anthony, director of Coming At Ya and Treasure of the Four Crowns. And he saw Julia X and was like, wow, that was amazing. So now I'm hanging out with this guy who, nobody's ever heard of him really, but he was super nice to me and somebody who was an inspiration to my film career. And he was just loving the movie. Wow. So I was in touch with him for a brief while and talking to him about, hey, we should restore Coming At You and Treasure of the Four Crowns and release it on 3D Blu-ray. But he was pretty old and the deal never came together. And for just whatever reason, this was all happening in 2009, 2010. And last night I just said to myself, God, I wonder if there's any way to see that Treasure of the Four Crowns in 3D again.
Right.
Because I was thinking about Avatar and 3D movies. I haven't seen any 3D in a while.
That way.
And I just put it into Google. And yesterday, the 3D Blu-ray was released.
Wow.
May 10th, 2022. And there was this review, and they had a little clip of it. It's beautifully restored. So it's just so weird.
That's a coincidence, I think.
I agree. But it's a weird one.
Yeah. As my father is fond of saying, think of all the coincidences you don't recognize. What?
What's that RV doing over there?
Well, we could walk by it if you want. Let's get out of the sun, though.
Sure. Maybe too heavy a jacket, huh?
No, I'm just concerned about getting sunburned.
I hear you. Now, the other thing we wanted to talk about, Charles, is what was it? We had a lot of stuff.
Well,
let's see. I made some notes. Let me see if I...
We have some Clinton Foundation revelations.
That's what it was, yes. New information about the Clinton Foundation.
Yes.
This is a turd minefield over here, Charles.
Yeah, exactly. Turd world country. So,
Princess Diana could come over here and clear the...
One of the tricks that the Clintons use, and you're not supposed to do this, on the annual return of a tax-exempt organization, which for the Clintons is called a Form 990, one of the questions is explain how...
Let's go on this side.
Sure. Explain how people can see copies of these Form 990s. And the answer the Clintons give on all their 990s is you can see them on the website.
So open your eyes.
So,
That's the answer.
Most
Wow.
people even suspect, careful behind you.
Purple Revolution, Charles.
Yes, it's nice. Most people wouldn't even suspect that a foundation would be scammy enough to put on its website versions of the annual report, which are different, materially
Wow.
different than the versions that
Pretty
were on,
bold.
that are on in ProPublica or on the New York State, North Carolina, Oklahoma, etc. And that, in and of itself, is a remarkably bold deception to think that that nobody's going to notice these big differences. Okay.
Yeah.
And they tend, one of the nice things that I've learned in the Clinton Project is wherever there's something missing, you know that you need to find it, and you can find it with a charity because it's probably really bad.
Right.
So when you see something that's missing, you don't give up. You say, aha, I found something new I got to complain about. So in the original, let's get over there.
Sure. But what do you think this RV is doing here?
It's idling. It's increasing its carbon footprint.
But I mean, is this just some RV, some people having a recreational
I doubt it.
time?
It looks like it's some kind of movie or something.
Oh, that's true.
Let's go in this nice, let's follow the winding
Not
road
really
here.
enough gear for a movie.
Some kind of shoot.
Anyway,
So
Clinton's.
when I first, if people go and see, Google my name without my middle initial and the words First Foundation Report, you'll see a document dated April 20th, 2015. And there I question whether the reports, in April 20th, 2015, they had just produced their 2004, no, they hadn't produced their 2014 990. All we had to work with was the 2013 990. And 990s going back to 1998. So I question in there whether all the formal requirements of running an organization had been carried out by the Clinton Foundation. Because on the foundations I've been involved with, they take the rules very seriously. You have board meetings, regular board meetings, and you're given materials in advance. You have to sign these conflict of interest forms and disclose any conflicts. Lawyers take you through the issues, and you have a serious discussion about substantive issues in each board meeting. And the trustees are ultimately responsible if they're called trustees, if they're called directors, it's
Right.
directors. So in 2012, the 990 for 2012 was filed around November 15th, 2013.
Is that on time?
It's on time, yes. But they then, because I think in part because I and others bitched about the many errors in it, they refiled the 10, 11, 12, and 13 990s and filed the 14 990 in November 16th, 2015. So there's two versions of the 2012. In the second, let's see, which one is it?
It's pretty hot.
It's not that hot. In one of the, it's not as bad as the Sahara Desert, Jason. So
It's true.
in somewhere it says that there were only 3 directors of the Clinton Foundation in 2012. One was Bruce Lindsay,
Right.
one was Chelsea Clinton, and one was Terry McAuliffe.
Uh-huh.
And in the 2013 versions, they explain that Terry McAuliffe, let's go this way and where that guy is. The 2013 990
Over
explains.
the turd minefield.
Yeah, well, there's your chips on top of it. That Terry McAuliffe went off the board on November 5th, right?
Uh-huh.
That means there were only 2 directors.
That you cannot do.
Right, you absolutely cannot do that. So then the pièce de résistance, and that's why I tweeted it out today. I have this fresh in my mind. I didn't just keep this and store it for a long time and remember it. Article 2, Section 23 of the amended bylaws, which are dated November 2nd, 2013, claim that by November 2nd, 2013, that there were 3 Class A directors, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and Chelsea Clinton, which is impossible. It conflicts with the 990.
Huh.
Right? Both of those things can't be true. And interestingly, when you go and you do the kind of stuff I like to do, which is to check different versions of the 990, check the one filed in Massachusetts for 12, Check the one filed in North Carolina for 12. Check the same thing for 13. Check in Oklahoma. Check in California. Check in New York State. You see that every time they have sent information across state lines using the mail or electronically that is false and materially misleading as they were fundraising. Importantly, in this period, they hadn't yet built up their endowment. Hillary had resigned February 1st, 2013 as Secretary of State, and they had a plan afoot to build a war chest so she could run for president, as she tried to do in 6, 7, and 8.
The war chest is the endowment for
right, which you're not allowed to do. But
right, that's not the campaign. That's a tax-exempt foundation.
Well, but when you go to billionaire A and you say, listen, I need 10 million from you, and you're not going to be able to get a tax deduction, that's not as good as saying I need 10 million from you, and I'll give you a slip of paper that said you gave me 20 million, and you can take a tax deduction.
Who the hell do we need to get this to do anything about it, Charles?
Well, I think it's in progress.
I hope that's right.
Yeah, and so the first level is the paperwork for 2012 and 13. It's there. It's in the public domain. It's a massive indictment of the board, the accountants. The accountants, the lawyers, trustees, everybody. And that's before you get to the real bombshell that I'm not going to lay on the table.
Okay.
So that's bad, what I just told you. That would disqualify a charity from operating normally.
Are we supposed to walk here, or is
we can,
vehicles?
No, it's closed off to vehicles now.
Okay.
So we're fine. Normally
the bombshell.
So the bombshell is the version, we talked about this before, the version of the 2005 990 that's on the Clinton Foundation website excludes the amended and restated bylaws for the Clinton Foundation, which importantly are titled The William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation Amended and Restated Bylaws. And in Article 1, Section 1, it specifically defines the entity as being the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation. These are dated April 23rd.
No ink?
Huh?
Ink?
No.
No ink.
So these are dated, sorry. So I think we got to go that way somehow. We're going south if we go there.
Yeah.
So maybe
down here.
So that says that from and after April 23rd, 2005, the only thing that had bylaws was something called the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation. And the articles were amended on the same date, April 23rd, 2005, to change the name of it to be just the William J. Clinton Foundation. So that means from April 23rd, 2005,
free jacket.
Nice garbage.
Oh, that stinks.
You don't like that?
Oh my God. It's roasting right there.
There you go.
Oh.
It's geothermal energy. Not.
How is that?
It's probably got all kinds of pestilence. It probably came straight from Mount Sinai Hospital. Like body parts. Anyway, so that shows, I mean, here you have all these genius lawyers, the smartest lawyer in the world, Hillary Clinton.
Not at all.
Bill Clinton, Attorney General, Governor, Yale Law School, both of them.
No.
All these fancy pants law firms charging hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars over time, the Clinton Foundation. Nobody bothers to check whether it even exists as an organization, and it didn't and does not.
That's because lawyering is another one of these fields where every shithead involved in it thinks they're some kind of genius. And so far, I think 99.99% of the ones that I've encountered are wrong.
Right. Well, I think in this case, the real game is very simple. There is a market. The corruption market is thriving, right? As you get set up as a system of unregulated globalism, where there is no global IRS,
right.
There's no global Justice Department.
Right. Have you ever seen this before?
Let's go in here.
Yeah.
We want to basically go there, so.
Do they like open up new things in Central Park?
Yeah. So
I've never seen this before.
So if you're sitting there and you're a company that's been around for over 100 years or over 50 years and you operate in 120 countries, you well know that laws conflict. In Sweden, if you want to have a charity,
right.
if you want to have a charity where you contribute your business to the charity, you can do that, put it into the charity, and then take it out of the charity later on.
I thought you said Rolex is a foundation.
Rolex is Swiss. Yeah. So, but in the U.S. there are very strict rules that make it, I think, impossible to do that. So,
You pen guy, Charles.
yeah,
Don't you have to turn up your nose at him?
I did. Let's see. Now this, I think, would be tricky.
Oh, yeah.
Can we go? Yeah, we have to go down this way.
No, that's not even an exit.
It can be an exit. It would hurt.
Well, if you want to just
No, we'll go this
tumble
way.
down the tumbleweeds.
No, I think we'll go this way. So, so what the Clintons figured out, and I bet you if we could apply truth serum, it would have to be very potent truth serum to the Clintons. And we went back to November 2000 when George W. Bush, or December 2000, in the eyes of the Clintons and McAuliffe, Bush stole that election. I think their attitude was, okay, they got it.
Now we're going to do it.
Now what we're going to do is, you've got America, we have the world. We are going to take over the UN, the globe. We're going to create the Global
WHO.
Fund, the WHO, and we're going to get special passports from the UN, and we're going to argue if we ever get caught, we'll say, listen, U.S. law where America doesn't apply to us. I'm the special envoy to Haiti.
Right,
You can't touch me.
right.
And so I think that's the program.
Or these 33 kids.
Right, exactly. I think that's the program the Clintons have been on, with the Blairs, with Sarkozy, with Alexander Downer in Australia, and Gillard, and many
Right.
other international leaders who, conveniently enough, get together once a year for the UN General Assembly right here in New York. And I have to, my hat's off to them in a sense. I don't admire corruption, but if you were trying to design an international Tammany Hall,
They did it.
they certainly did it, and it's still working for them, and they haven't been caught yet. And Bill, according to the Globe, I think, he's on his last legs, and but of course the Globe has that headline every other.
Yeah, they say that about everybody, but I could believe that. I mean, that could essentially be true about Bill Clinton at any moment. He's had a couple of major heart incidents, and
Right.
Cocaine's not that good for your health.
Right, and so we have as well, they're trying to slide a fastball by everybody that just after, and I call me stupid, and I'm never going to hold myself out as a health expert, but explain to me how Steve Colbert and Bill
comedian?
Gates and Harris and others and Blinken, who all told us the vaccine is safe.
Oh, they
and
got
effective
COVID.
more than once.
And Bill Gates has it, yeah.
Colbert has announced the second time. Explain that to me.
Colbert.
Yeah, Steve Colbert.
I know, Charles, the only people that I know personally who have had COVID have also engaged in another thing.
What, stupid?
Well, I don't want to say it because I think YouTube doesn't like us to talk about it, but people know what I'm talking about.
Right. So this is, on the one hand, nice after-school activity,
Little kids playing
but
dodgeball or
it's sort
whatever.
of sad as well that they're not out, running around in the
Well, but they
on
are.
a farm.
This
This is nothing like.
well, I mean, city kids to get to the park. It's kind of nice. I mean,
Actually, this is near. When I was at Grace Church School, we used to play soccer up here, and we would change in the park.
you can't do that anymore. But look at how nice this is, like a little kid paradise in there.
Right. And we were. I was given. I remember it was all the rage to get identification bracelets. I made out of silver from Tiffany's. So I had just gotten one, and I lost it. I think right around here.
Oh, wow.
Probably 40 years ago.
Wow. I'll tell you another funny story related to 3D stuff.
Down Madison, maybe?
Whatever you want to do. Tom, I told you about this guy before. He had a Maserati. It's the only Maserati I ever rode in. Tom, what's his last name? He was the Punisher. He was married
Some actor,
to
you told me.
somebody, Arquette. Anyway, he wanted to direct a 3D movie, and I was shooting a camera test with him in, what's the park in LA with the observatory in it?
No clue.
How do I not remember?
I don't know.
Anyway, I was in
Somewhere.
the park, and I was on my knee. We had a low shot, and I got up and dusted the. I just went like this to dust dirt off of my pant leg, and I was married at the time. My wedding ring went flying, and in the dirt, and I just couldn't find it. We went and got like a guy with a metal detector, and he's like, "Oh, It was
he
made
found
of.
it.
No. We were there for hours. You couldn't find it.
Oh,
He
boy.
said because it was made of platinum, that it would sink so quickly. I was like,
sad.
in dirt?
Maybe somebody did find it. Did you have your initials in it?
Had nothing in it other than a lot of money. And the problem was, then I had to tell my wife at the time I lost it. And of course, you go into Tiffany to replace your wedding band. And it's like, well, now I need a new one too. I was
Right.
like, what? And then
Need
of course,
is the operative word there. I really need this. You don't need anything.
Tom, whatever his name is, the Punisher, did not go forward with
punished
that
you.
movie.
And
Who
to
knows
top it
what
off,
Tom's
he
name
didn't
was.
do the movie. So that's like a double punishment, triple
Yeah, it was
punishment.
a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, or your finger. So,
And then I got divorced and had to sell that second ring anyway.
is the moral of the story that
did
you
you see
made a
that
profit?
guy?
Huh?
That guy walking down the street, holding his jacket like he was concealing something, wearing a mask.
Is he following us?
No.
So these are some pretty nice pads, as is this one. These are seriously expensive. Bless you.
It's definitely allergy time.
No, this is an older guy here.
Oh, let's give
Yeah, we'll let him go.
him the space there. Somebody says buy the insurance. This all happened like 15 years ago, so I don't think insurance applies.
You get like retroactive insurance?
You got to be Bill Clinton to do that.
Yeah.
Pawn it then. If they're talking about the ring, it was lost. Hi.
Hi. Was that,
Anal Schwab?
no. Peter Sellers in Cato?
I don't know.
No, because Peter
Peter
Sellers
Sellers was dead, yeah.
still dead. Still dead.
Okay, so new Clinton Foundation information.
Right. So basically, what we're doing here is we're all, with respect to the Clinton Foundation, and here's Russia making the point that it's the Clinton Foundation that was used as a conduit to get funds over to Ukraine, and they definitely have been operating in Ukraine since 2004, which is when they ramped up the effort, and the U.S. ramped up the effort to make sure that Ukraine was not within the
Let's just look on this corner. Ukraine was not within the what? NATO?
in the former Soviet sphere, that it would get pushed into the U.S. column.
Right.
So, and I've got to believe, I'm in the school of thought that particularly in Russia, when you go through the list of Nobel Prize winners in science and math,
A lot.
there are a lot of them. There are some freakishly smart people in
Yeah.
Russia. And a lot of the transmissions that would have involved the Clinton Foundation are going to be in English, but also in foreign languages, whether it's Ukrainian, Russian, other things. And Russian and Ukrainian Secret Service people and hackers or whatever would have the ability to get information about the Clinton Foundation that I'm not going to be able to get. And that the Russian government is making this an issue and specifically targeting Gates as well, and the Rockefellers and the Bidens, tells me that this idea that Russia's just going to fold and go away
No way.
is poppycock,
Yeah.
to use a very technical term.
It was 70 rubles to the dollar yesterday. That's
Wow,
like
that's
the strongest
appreciated.
it's
Yeah.
been, since
got-
before the war.
It got its weakest, it was like 125.
Right.
That was several weeks ago.
Oh, nice shoes on this dog. There's like a dog battle waiting to happen here.
Battle of the Pooches. So we're back in Euroland here. Pretend that this is Europe.
Well, I mean, these are people who have $150 for lunch.
If you're lucky.
That's, for one.
I'm saying if you're lucky. Some of these places are obscenely expensive.
Yeah, but look at how many are out even over here, Charles.
Well, I think you've had people cooped up for 2 years. This is the first, frankly, nice day
Well,
in quite a while.
yeah, that's true. It was raining a lot.
And it can be, this portion of the city, bless you,
You can hear birds now.
Yeah, this bird brains as well. This
Well, all
portion.
you got to do is turn on the TV to hear that.
I think you just walk down the street. But this is a part of the city that, when it comes back, is extremely pleasant to visit and relax in, particularly around now in late spring, and then September, October can be very nice.
Do you feel that Eric Adams, even though he's made a couple of broadcasts where he expressed outrage and, told New Yorkers he wants us to send him pictures of cops doing nothing and that he's going to do something or other on the subway, have you noticed any?
Eric Adams puts the Ron in moron. I mean, he's just pathetic.
But have you noticed any decrease in the level of crime?
You want to get a nice pair of those sneakers over there, Jason?
I mean, again, that looks to me like it's probably going to cost $500.
Oh,
and
more than that. As you
not
guess.
as good as 3D.
Yeah, but you don't have the Loro Piana frequent flyer program.
I don't really need that.
This thing's crooked.
What is?
It's a crooked Loro.
Are you Bill Clinton's doctor?
Well, you can see.
Oh yeah, look at that. It needs the bent crank.
Yeah, bent carrot. So that's the store where what you need to be thinking about is profit margin. How much did I overpay for what I just bought there?
But
This
with
also
regard
is-
to,
Bottega Veneta is also incredibly expensive.
and then someone speaking a foreign language, who also looks incredibly expensive, standing there waiting to go in.
Well, so people, foreign tourists love these type of stores here because you don't pay a 20% VAT or 25% VAT.
And if your currency is, if you're buying in rubles, you're getting a great deal.
Well, you do have to pay New York State tax, city and state tax, but it gets remitted to you when you leave the country.
At the airport.
The airport, in theory.
Yeah, that's a pain in the ass, and you never have time to do it.
Well, I think if you just spent $10,000 on a
You make
handbag for your mistress, maybe, or whoever you spend it for.
You're probably not that concerned with saving money if
might-
you're doing
I
that.
don't know. Depends how many mistresses you have.
Fair point. But Charles, what I'm getting at is, it doesn't seem like Eric Adams is actually doing anything.
This is an intractable problem. I mean, this whole idea, is it a structural problem, i.e. it's something wrong with the foundation?
Right.
Or is it something that can be cured with a paint job?
No.
And this is a structural problem.
Yes.
You have an anti-capitalist mindset.
But it's more than that. The NYPD is a dysfunctional organization.
Before we get to that, in terms of people coming here to engage in private sector activity, are despised by the government, right? So this is not a place to go to create the next big, gigantic home run, where people are going to be making large salaries and cash salaries and bonuses, and taking stock and have it go to the moon, and then pay capital gains tax.
The moon's nothing. You got to go to Mars now.
Exactly now, or Uranus.
Totally
So
different
in case
business.
Joe's like, I'm all in for that.
Yeah.
I got just the man for that one, Hunter. Anyway, it's got the
It's got the
password.
password.
So, get the name of the currency. It'll be called the anal Schwab.
Oh,
Anyway.
well, we should talk about Coinbase as well, but carry on.
Right. So in the case of New York, your problem is, on the one hand, you have way too many retired public sector workers who are overpaid on their pensions. This is a good Italian race. It was a good Italian place. I don't know if it still is. Nello.
It's a favorite among bears.
No, it really is quite good. Quite nice. Anyway, so you have retired people that you have to pay. You have a government deficit at city, region, and state level that's crazy. You have a debt that's crazy. And in addition, because taxes are so high in New York City, you have a lot of not-for-profits that operate here. So, and their property, they don't have to pay property taxes. So
That's terrible.
So you have this, you have all this drain on the budget, and no real ability to cover it off with private sector. So it's an intractable problem. The solution for New York City and state is to go bankrupt and change, the retiree pensions and change all that stuff. Eliminate the unions.
What happens to us, though,
Well,
if it goes
we will
bankrupt?
we will have nothing would happen to you personally.
Oh, really?
No. I mean, companies go bankrupt all the time, and you still can walk in there and typically they eliminate the crushing debts that brought them to the problem in the first place, and they get fresh financing and they start afoot. They lose the equity in the business, and original lenders may take
So
a
is
haircut.
China going to do that to New York City?
Well, I don't know about that, but it needs to be done. That's the only way out of this, because it's just reached a point of absurdity.
But isn't that what Trump was kind of doing? I mean, when he says, hey, look, this is a disaster. We need Germany to be paying for NATO. He said at his Pennsylvania rally that he told Merkel or whatever that the United States isn't going to defend them, and the next day the money showed up.
Well, he's probably right, and we were too patient on that one. And I say that as the descendant, Ortel is a German name. My ancestor came from Berlin, which was not technically Germany when he came, but it was Prussia. But anyway, we've been too patient. I mean, Germany and England and France and Italy, it's how many years past World War II?
70-something?
77.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, hence the Z on the Russians.
Is that?
I think so. I may be wrong. But anyway, so I think Trump was absolutely right on that. And what Trump and others who've been through bankruptcy
Right, that's what I mean. They know how to handle the situation.
Well, it's a very, if you've got a good business with a bad debt structure, you can fix that in bankruptcy. If you've got a shit business with a great debt structure or report, you can't fix it.
Right.
You got to figure out how to turn the business, the poop guy business, into a non-poop guy business.
Fertilizer guy.
Right. And that's something that this team is hopeless.
Yep.
Absolutely hopeless.
I agree. The other thing that we should talk about is that James Bond on the Baccarat? What is Baccarat other than a card game that I don't know how to play?
I think Baccarat is
domino game that I don't know how to play.
It's not. It's that I think is Crystal.
Well, the thing that we need to talk about is 2,000 Mules, Charles.
Yeah.
Did you get to see it?
I saw bits and pieces of it and haven't been able to watch the whole thing. Now, those are some good shoes, John Love.
Is that like
they're English?
Bob Lob Law?
They used to be only handmade in England, but now they're...
People enjoy that you make jokes that I don't get, and I make jokes that you don't get, and they're at home laughing.
Okay, good. What's Bob Lob?
He's the lawyer on that show, Arrested Development, and his law firm is Bob Lob Law.
That's funny.
Bob Lob Law.
That's funny.
But I think it's Scott Baio.
Didn't he just die?
Scott Baio? No. Did he?
I think he did.
Really? The young guy, Scott Baio?
I don't know how young he is.
You just started a rumor. Here's a Hemi, Charles.
I knew that.
I don't think Scott Baio is dead. I was about to say I sat next to him at Nobu in
That'll do it.
In Aspen when we did the ESPN X Games, and he was an absolute jerk. People like him because he's pro-Trump. I don't think he's dead.
Well,
this says he's 61.
No,
I thought I just read that he died. I could be wrong, or that he has cancer, or is it?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want him to die. I just think he was not the nicest guy in the world. But anyway, he was Bob Lob Law, as far as I know.
Right.
Totally not what I was trying to talk about.
Well, so in the 2,000 Mules issue.
That's it, right.
So we think back. Your issue of you're bringing my attention to the issue of limited hangouts. In 1996, the big issue for Bill Clinton was whether people were going to figure out just how much in bed the Chinese were, not only with the Clintons, but also with the Bush family. That was the big issue. And both sides needed to bury that. They didn't want that to come out before the election, so it was buried. Despite the fact that there was the senator who died, who used to be on Law and Order, Fred Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
He was making big noises about how he'd studied it and he had conclusive evidence of
Had studied the Clinton Foundation?
No, the issue of Clinton's taking dirty money by
from
Arkansas
China.
from China. And so they managed to bury that before 96. And I guess is it Robert Bennett was the lawyer? There's Bill and I think it's Robert Bennett who
Bob Bennett,
who was brought in to be an additional media savvy lawyer. David Kennel doesn't like to talk in public at all. He's meticulous, quiet, does all the stuff in the back room.
He's had a checkered legal career.
He brags about it on his but anyway, so they bring Bennett in, and Bennett then writes a book, which I have, and I've read it carefully, and he brags about the Clintons gave him marching instructions, bury this Lewinsky and other Paula Jones stuff until after the 96 election. That was his job, and he brags about getting it done. And so in 96, we weren't able, when Bill was president, to bring up obvious questions like how did they have a state dinner in October 1997 at the White House with the Chinese government, where several days before that Bill Clinton welcomed the leader of China into the private quarters of the White House for a dinner along with he and Hillary. And this is right after the handover, July 1st, 1997. How come Bill doesn't say anything about
Handover of Hong Kong?
Right. How come Bill says nothing about that in his book? And doesn't really explain what trade-offs were made with regard to letting China be in the World Trade Organization. How come that isn't covered? That's the obvious gift, the quo or the quid or whatever you want to call it, that China got in exchange for routing money to the Clintons when they needed it and to other politicians when they needed it. China needed to be accepted as a normal trading partner. Otherwise, its theft model of stealing intellectual property and stealing whatever isn't nailed down and using slave labor to inflate a gigantic bubble, that project wouldn't work if you were a pariah state and not a member of the World Trade Organization. So there's the 96 election. We haven't studied that carefully enough. We don't really know what happened there. Which artist is this?
I was going to say, this is somebody trying to copy...
Tom Wesselman. 10 to 15, no, wait a minute. This is $10,000 to $15,000 for that.
I don't like that painting at
Well,
all.
wait a minute. Compared to a Hunter Biden painting for $500,000, I'll take that for $10,000.
I don't like that at all.
Well, whatever.
That looks like a doodle to me.
But you see, look, to get into some, this is the way.
How is it 10 to 15? Because it's an auction?
Well, let me just get into a few points here. When people look, if this person may or may not be an established artist, meaning that he may or may not have trained with a recognized artist, he may or may not have gone to art school, he may or may not have pieces in museums around the world. I simply don't know. But the one thing I do know is he's dead. Because it says here he died in 2004.
Oh.
Now, if he died, then he stopped producing art, meaning that this stuff is by definition, that we know how much
Are
he did.
you sure?
I'm pretty sure. We could ask Joe.
Because Hunter Biden's paintings could have been made by a dead guy.
So, and this, I happen to know this gallery. I forget the name. We'll see the name of it. Yeah, Bonham's. This is a serious gallery, right? And they don't just put anything up on the wall. They think about. They have only one wall here, and they can put anything they want on it.
There's only so much crack to be smoked.
Right, and so they decided to put this up here. And here at auction, the starting prices range $10,000 to $15,000. Hunter is saying that he's still pretending to be alive and an idiot and a bad artist and never trained by anybody. And this gallery down, where we've been to many times, is asking $500,000 for crap.
Well, it's unclear if Hunter is even toilet trained.
I mean, that would look good in the breakfast nook. It would, in a breakfast nook in your East Hampton beach house. I mean,
I don't like it at all.
Well, you don't like it. I'm just saying. Everyone, I don't like cameras.
Simplistic drawing.
I'm just
of a
saying.
Woman's face.
But
I don't like it.
Fine. You don't have to bid.
I will not. But I'm just thinking, don't you know this experience where you're dealing with somebody with like no negotiating
right.
experience at all,
like Biden.
and you say, how much is this? And they say 10 to 15,000. You say, okay, I like 10.
Or I like
well,
5.
it's actually 15.
God, can you do 5? Yeah.
But
it seems low, actually. I mean, I know.
Unusually, extraordinarily low, Brad.
Yeah, I didn't finish the assignment, the thought that we had to Have Simon Cowell rate Joe Biden's press conferences?
Yeah.
That would be hilarious.
You say, you're horrible. You can't speak. You have no idea where you are. What are you doing here? You're not even coherent. I think Simon Cowell had some kind of accident
A while back.
bicycle with big surgery or something.
Back surgery, yeah.
Yeah, I heard something about
So
that.
did Jesse Waters. He apparently slipped in the shower.
What? When was that? I just saw him on the...
I know, a number of weeks back. He talks about it on the show.
Oh, he looked all right yesterday.
He's had serious treatment. About 1 week.
Wow, there's a lot of steam coming out of there.
That's right. Heat's rising, Jason.
Huh.
So,
Well, what else did we have on the docket today, Charles?
well, we covered the Clinton Foundation. We covered.
Speaking of the docket, so the judge just knocked out Durham's request to get something from Sussman. What was going on there?
No. What happened is Durham has filed what they call speaking indictments.
Whoa.
Yeah, I see it.
What's
Somebody
going on here?
serious. So you got guys leaning out the window. It's probably the mayor.
This
It's
many
U-
people for the
No,
damn
it's
mayor?
U.S. government.
Yeah, that's not the mayor. This is going to be somebody even stupider than the mayor. Look at that guy. He's waiting to shoot.
Who?
This idiot looking right at us.
Well, let's not antagonize him, okay?
Not antagonizing him. I'm just there in public and I'm trying to figure out what they're doing.
Stuck in
How's the
traffic.
Super Cruise?
Huh?
Just asking the guy in the Escalade how he likes the Super Cruise. Yeah, I mean, this guy staring at us
Let's go.
only tells me he's an idiot. We are not a threat.
Yeah, he's probably taking, Pete Buttigieg to a yoga lesson.
Yeah, something stupid like that.
Right. So, you had asked me a question, then I
forgot
rudely-
what it was. Well, 2,000 mules. We still have.
Well, we
to
haven't
address a bit.
finished that yet. So 96 election was definitely influenced by foreigners. 2000 election, I have Terry McAuliffe's book, and he goes on and on and on how Bush stole that election. Hillary says it wasn't legitimate.
Right.
He was selected, not elected. They can complain about that endlessly.
Didn't
now
the
for
press
22 years.
secretary just say it the other day from the
Well,
pulpit?
yeah, I'm going to get to that. Then 2004, many believed that it was a dirty trick played by Corsi, the Swift Votes for Truth, that cost Kerry that election. So people.
How was that a trick played by Corsi?
Well, it
Somebody
wasn't.
came to him and said, "Write this book."
It wasn't a trick.
And
but
they were
that's
the
what
people who were on the boat with him, wasn't it?
Well, remember I don't know if you remember in 2000, there was all this sore loser man. There was somebody.
Who?
Well, it was Al Gore and Joe Lieberman. And so the Bush team
yeah.
referred to the Gore people. They would have competing press conferences before it was settled. One would have 25 American flags and the next person would have 30 American flags. And they each call the other one sore loser man until the
God.
Supreme Court settled it. So anyway, in 4, they believe there's an issue. In 8, W. Bush did, it wasn't like a Rodney Dangerfield faceplant. It was if King Kong dove into a swimming pool off the World Trade Center. I mean, it was the worst performance.
That deflated King Kong just falling off of the Empire State
Right,
Building like a flaccid.
And jumping into
Monkey.
a 20-foot pond. I mean, Bush's final year in office, it was absolutely disgusting what
Yeah.
happened. To the markets, to our standing in the world, trillions of dollars of wealth was destroyed. Precedents were set that destroyed the traditional way of capitalism, that when you
What
fail,
about the
you
Patriot
eat.
Act?
The Patriot, all that kind of stuff.
9/11.
So I don't know that you could say that people interfered with that election. Bush was determined to lose, and he made it very difficult for any Republican to win. McCain ran a horrible campaign, and thankfully he did lose. But that
He's just
gave
a
us
terrible guy.
But that gave us Obama, who has been an unmitigated disaster while president and especially afterwards. So then there's the 2012 election. Had the truth been known about the state of the Clinton Foundation before 2010,
Yeah.
Barack Obama would not have been reelected. There's no way. Because
That
idiots,
guy's going the wrong way, way too fast.
so that 2012 election, they buried the Benghazi truths, they
Right.
buried the Clinton Foundation. I would argue that was an election that was meddled with. We can say that it was. Let's just duck in here for a second.
People definitely want us to talk about 2,000 mules.
We will in a second. I'm just saying, I'm laying the groundwork and saying that, we can't talk about the 2020 election, but in 2016, 15, and 16, it is crystal clear that Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration did their best to install Hillary as the candidate, even though she was a deeply flawed candidate, and then to jam her through and win the general election. And when that didn't work, they were terrified what was going to happen if Trump really found his sea legs. So they made sure they surrounded Trump, and maybe Trump was a willing player in it, well, we don't know yet, to make sure that Trump couldn't do what should have been done immediately.
You're going to need an awful lot of butter to shove Hillary Clinton through anything.
Butter, lard tubs.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I don't accept this idea that the mainstream, in quotes, corporate-owned media is allowed to, walk around with a severed Trump head.
Yeah.
Right? And pitch and moan for decades that the different elections they actually lost were the result of foreign power or other meddling. But we can't question an obvious situation where you had a non-campaign. It's like, I'm going to run a campaign to convince you not to vote for me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stay in my basement. I'm going to mumble inanities. I'm going to irritate key constituencies. Come on, man, you ain't black. You lying dog-faced pony soldier.
I can't believe that no one's ever said anything about that since.
Right, and this is, we want to piss off in the Democratic Party to get elections won. You need to have the black vote come in strong and disproportionately for Democrats.
So that they can be insulted.
So let me piss them off.
Yeah.
And then what I'm going to do is, we've got a bunch of wars going on. We got a lot of veterans. They're an active group. I'm going to piss them off by calling this guy a lying dog-faced pony soldier. And you seriously expect me to believe that the crowds were enormous for Trump? There was nobody would show up. They probably had to
the
pay
Jeep
people.
dealership voted for.
You had to pay homeless people to pretend they were interested in what Mumbles had to say. And on the day of, the lines of people who actually voted were, the turnout was massive. And then in all key states at the same time, they decided, let's stop the count.
Yeah.
And
take everything out from under the tables.
Yeah, and Trump is ahead in all those states at 10 o'clock at night, and the next morning Biden's won the election. There's
but you can't question that. There's nothing going on there.
Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. So.
But YouTube can. I don't mean to interject, Charles, but we missed a choice moment.
What was that?
Well, the fire department, FDNY, was driving like a 97 Impala, and the cops have a Maybach to text.
Cop shocks, cop this.
Yeah, they traded the Cadillac for a microphone.
Right. So this Mules movie, I've just seen key excerpts. I'd be more interested in what you have to say about it. They appear to have cell phone data, and they have the identities, which are going to release, they didn't do it in the movie, of the nonprofits who were illegally engaged.
Oh, they did not release?
They haven't released the names yet. They're going to. But
Why
they have
not?
them. I don't know. But they're going to release them. I think they wanted people to understand the subject matter first. And then they're going to release this. We'll be able to comment on it. But I can tell you, a tax-exempt 501c3 is not allowed to engage in partisan political activity,
Right.
which ballot harvesting is. We don't have light.
We do.
Well,
It's okay, we'll wait now.
sorry.
I actually haven't watched it either. A number of people sent me links that were, free to watch.
Right.
But these were clearly somebody pointing a cell phone at the laptop, and I don't want to steal Dinesh D'Souza's
Right.
movie, but I also haven't had time to watch it yet, and I'm not saying I don't want to see it, but I believe that it is presenting information that fortifies what you and I already know.
Right.
My primary question about it, and I think I already know the answer, I don't think Mike Lindell had anything to do with it, did he? He's not saying anything about it.
I don't know. I hope he didn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I hope he didn't, because that means that this is independent information and evidence separate. People don't seem to understand what my issue was with Mike Lindell. And they say, I'm jealous, and I'm this, I'm that. That's not it at all. I initially had contacted Mike Lindell because I support this whole idea of election integrity, and if somebody makes a claim, we should investigate it and run it down with evidence. And it was clear to me that by associating with Mary Fanning and all this stuff he was talking about related to Dennis Montgomery, that he was going down a dangerous road if he intended to take that information into a courtroom. And again, my fear is that what Dinesh D'Souza has here, first of all, I did see parts of it, and I have seen, the official excerpts that he's released to the extent that I understand. He got this paid for FOIA or whatever, got the cell phone location data, tied that to the Times from surveillance footage, and saw individual people shoving huge amounts of ballots in there, sometimes wearing gloves. People said, oh no, that's for COVID, but then the person on the video puts the ballots in and takes the gloves off. So he's got a lot of evidence that is absolutely compelling and highly suggestive that the claims that he's making that we don't want to talk about here are true. However, what I'm saying is, I'm thinking about this from the standpoint of what would a scumbag lawyer do, because that's step 2. And the scumbag lawyers are already showing us what they'll do. They'll say, well, this cell phone data is questionable because of this and that. They don't want to deal with the facts. They want to deal with technical issues that can stipulate your stuff out and say, all right, well, maybe that's evidence, but we're going to disqualify this evidence, make it inadmissible through something or another. And that's going to bring us to the next topic I want to talk about after I'm done with this. And if you have anything to say about it, but Judge Knapp on Megyn Kelly about the Supreme Courts. But I mean, again, I'm a little disappointed that Dinesh D'Souza, I believe Dinesh D'Souza is serious in his approach, and I do respect Dinesh D'Souza and think he's a smart guy and a good filmmaker. I cannot say those things about Mike Lindell.
Well, so on what you were just saying on the election, I mean, you remember that when Brett Baer and Fox called, this is reprehensible. It's actually illegal to do that.
What is she doing there?
You can't involve children in begging. It's just really bad stuff.
They were eating something weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's obviously a terrible predicament to be in, but you find another way through it. You don't involve your children as pity points.
Charles, this thing is getting bigger.
What is? Oh yeah. That's JP Morgan's headquarters.
But so what did Brett Baer do?
So you remember on the Saturday after the election when Fox called the election for Biden, called Arizona for Biden, there was this semi-quote spontaneous eruption of joy, and we went around the city with everyone honking their horns and wondering, like, do we really live in a city where people could be this happy about such an idiot, in theory, winning?
Yeah, we do.
Where are those people now, I'd like to know.
They're still delighted.
Well, I don't know that they're all still delighted. I mean, we didn't. I mean, that's a nice car.
Yeah, blacked out SL.
So, where are those 81 million people now? And are they truly happy with inflation?
Working in COVID tents.
With inflation and working COVID tents. Inflation.
Here's another weed
crime.
store.
Yeah. Where? Right. Inflation, crime. Stock market melting down. They're really happy with this. Open southern border, World War III on the,
I'm telling you, they don't.
I don't think those same people can be happy. Some of them maybe.
I don't think it's an issue of sanity, Charles. There's something really going on where educated, intelligent people have been so misinformed, and that's why they need this Disinformation Governance Bureau.
Right.
What?
They're misinformed, not disinformed?
They they're disinformed, and they think
stupid.
They think that it's good information, but I think that the Disinformation Governance Bureau is they want to take over where the term conspiracy theorist left off. That's too vague. Disinformation is more compatible with deplatforming somebody or making it some sort of an offense.
Folks need to think for themselves. I mean, this is a participatory governance structure. You think for yourself. Nobody's going to tell you, even me, but I am not going to say this is the answer. Maybe the answer for me but it's not necessarily the answer for you or for everybody in our
They
audience.
love to tell everybody the answer. You have to go get a shot.
Well, I'm just saying that there are people who do like to do that, and those people need to be forbidden from having anything to do with government. Govern
the
themselves.
Governance board girl wants the ability to edit your texts like it's Wikipedia. Now she thinks she has the ability to edit companies' business plans.
I mean, how in the hell does that puke with no relevant experience in business get off thinking that she can edit, the tweets of however many hundreds of millions of people are on Twitter? She's a moron.
It's like saying because somebody has a restaurant that's an all-you-can-eat buffet, how come I'm not allowed to come into your house and take whatever I want?
I know, it's just nuts.
It's like, what are you talking about, dummy?
It's a discussion I'm not
Can't
prepared
touch
to have.
the tweets.
It's a discussion I'm not prepared. You are an illegitimate pretender
Right.
to government power. There's no legitimate basis for you to be in this role. The job is probably going to get canceled, as it should. And if you push it a little bit harder, you may find yourself in prison.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why is this
may find herself in
person
prison.
right? Why is this person not an enemy of the Constitution? Everything that she's saying indicates that she's trying to overturn the Constitution. She should absolutely be fired. Mayorkas should be fired.
She worked in the Ukraine as well.
I know. That's why
why-
they need this disinformation board. That's why stupid Brandy put out her stupid NBC podcast about Tiffany Dover. By the way, that podcast ended, Charles, and she never spoke to Tiffany Dover.
Yeah.
She
Well-
never even got confirmation that Tiffany is alive, and I never said Tiffany Dover is dead. So they're doing these things. This is important. I know it's not related to anything that you talk about, but in a general sense, it does give us an important pattern to look at as far as how they're going to define what is disinformation. And it's a shell game trick.
Right.
Because all I ever said was this girl went on the news to tell us that the vaccine is safe. She took the shot and 7 minutes later had an episode that caused public concern. I contacted the hospital about a video that they posted 2 days later that had a lot of weird things about it that they refused to answer. Then they deleted that video, locked up their Twitter account, and never said anything else about it. That's all I've ever said.
Right.
So the way Brandy Zadrad, that Jason is a dreaded conspiracy theorist, is that they start with a false premise, and this is happening almost all the time. They name the thing Tiffany Dover is dead, which I never said she was, and at the end of it they say, oh, see, she's not dead, all these other people are conspiracy theorists and crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Actually, while you were talking there, I failed to talk about this revelation from the Russian government of the Clinton Foundation's involvement. And when I talked about the Clinton Foundation in 2013, I failed to point out that in 2013, Hillary Clinton still had, and her team still had possession of all of her work-related emails in 2013. She did not turn them over to the ICIG until I think it's December.
And wasn't that guy Charles McCullough?
Right, December 2014. So she had almost 2 years, more time than Biden has been president or resident. She had massive team. She probably was using the Clinton Foundation staff to cull through what she had and what she had to turn over.
And a friendly IG.
And a friendly IG who later would represent the supposed whistleblower in the Trump case. So, it's like one of these Charles Dickens books where it's just everybody, there are 4 characters and they're all related. They're at every point, or Death on the Nile.
Right.
Where it turns out that everybody is guilty. Sorry for ruining that one, but everybody's guilty of the crime.
Except
we have Vindman is the squealer.
Oh, the worst.
We have this Jankowicz is working in Ukraine. We have
Vindman's
Newland.
Ukrainian.
I know. We have Newland is the one who began pushing in 2014. Somebody on my Twitter feed put up a BBC story from 2014 talking about how it was Newland who sicked the Azov Brigade on Russian speakers in Ukraine starting in 2014.
What?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So
yeah, that woman's evil.
So I would be sitting there and saying, like it's kind of like what's that movie with Ingmar Bergman and Casablanca? you know, of all the gin joints in the world, of all the gin-soaked countries in the world, vodka-soaked countries in the world, why is the United States today so entangled up with Ukraine?
Right.
Why is every major scandal that they're involved in, it's got some...
And sending $40 billion into a hole there.
We have crying Chuck Schumer. You know, he's crying in his, you know, oat-based milk about...
Oh, it's Ensure.
Yeah, what's this person doing?
Selling...
In the middle of the street.
No one is going to go out there to buy that. Oh, I guess it's a demonstration. But that's a good way to get hit.
But, so, you know, here you have crying Chuck Schumer saying...
Oh, that guy's an idiot.
He is. Saying, you know, we don't have $3 billion or whatever the number was to finish the wall, even though everything was there, all the material was down, it could have been done. We don't have that, but we just rush another $40 billion to a country whose GDP is $160 billion.
Well, and also where we don't know where the money is going, and that is just escalating the war. There was a really, really smart commentary on Lee Stranahan's show yesterday, which basically, if Russia wanted to destroy Ukraine, whether there's 40 billion US dollars in it or not, they could easily do that without ever leaving Moscow.
Right.
And just turn the whole place into dust. But they did not do that because this is a surgical extraction of specific militarized targets that are embedded among the civilian population, even if the civilian population doesn't fully realize that.
Right. It's probably better if they don't.
Well, that...
you know, from the standpoint of the Ukrainians.
Exactly. From the standpoint of the Azov battalion, it's better that the civilians don't know exactly what they're doing or where they're located. But I have a feeling that Russian intelligence knows.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And I love these morons on cell phones who wander around like this and stop suddenly, turn around.
Okay, wait. Judge Knapp on Megyn Kelly, who, I gotta say, the long format podcast, not just when we do it, it's a good format.
Sure.
Because, you know, I've spoken many times about this, and I'm pretty interested in the evolution of...
Guys who talk chatty Cathy.
The evolution of television technology and how it has affected production and consumption of television. And we're in a really, you know, it's constantly evolving. And I think that the commoditization of production equipment first manifested itself in creating reality TV.
Right.
Because the equipment was so inexpensive and the demand for more TV was growing so much that you didn't have enough famous actors. You got this sort of lower production value, lower expectation by the audience, but different type of television entertainment that became very popular. But people, I think, slowly realized over time with reality TV that it's not actually reality. It's quite heavily manipulated by the producers.
TV. Nice garbage. Like, have a cup of coffee next to a stinking pile of garbage. You know?
Right.
Brilliant.
And what we're dealing with now through an even further commoditization, not just of the camera technology, but the broadcast technology that we're using like right here, is that now we have real reality television. You and I did not script this. There's nobody here telling us.
I memorized all these lines, basically.
Nobody telling us where to go, nobody cutting and taking it back and doing it again. And, oh no, Charles, come in and tell Jason, you know, whatever you just told him that was shocking again so we can get the reverse shot. So this is like real reality television, and what we're finding is people are very interested in watching people unbox iPhones and install a dash cam in their car, or in the case of somebody like Megyn Kelly, she's able to go a lot more into her area of expertise in terms of details about the law, her personal opinion, and it's interesting as a lawyer, as a mother, as a conservative, to hear her detailed opinions. And they're quite informed. So she had Judge Knapp on there yesterday.
He wasn't talking about his lawsuits.
No, they were talking specifically about the demonstrations outside
Supreme Court
judges' houses. Yeah, the justices' houses, and why Youngkin and other people aren't doing anything. And Napolitano seemed pretty convinced. And this is what's good about it. Because he's not just... Like something like this happens and I can go to the Cornell thing and look up a law and be like, there's that law, go nail him on this law. But I mean, that's like reading the instruction manual to something versus knowing how to build the whole entire thing. Napolitano said that the problem is, yeah, that's the law, but precedent, case law, has always favored the First Amendment. And what they're going to say in this case is you can't arrest these people because you're suppressing their First Amendment. And he said that the location and the time, like as long as they're doing it after 8 a.m. and before 8 p.m. or whatever, and they're not obstructing this and they're not obstructing that. So as he was saying that, it occurred to me that the whole protest thing is also lawfare.
Right.
Somebody has told them, go there at this time, do this, don't do that, and let's push it to the edge.
Makes sense.
And it was interesting.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because they're still protesting there, right? And no cops are doing anything.
Well, they're not going to stop. I mean, this is not the Roe case is not the only case that is important to for different reasons to both ends of the political spectrum. So yeah, I think this is now going to become standard. They're going to go.
Well, we're living in Mad Max Thunderdome. Bust the deal, face the wheel.
Now, I don't like Senator, I think it's Dick Durbin from Illinois, I believe. But kudos to him for coming out and saying that this is reprehensible behavior and it needs to immediately stop this protesting. I mean,
Right,
he's
but
a
they're not
hard
listening.
left Democrat. He's a lawyer, and he's the first person who's stopped the Alinsky, Clinton, Obama bullshit. This is not. We don't do this to the Supreme Court. We don't do this to elected officials.
They're doing it. They're day 3, aren't they? And they still haven't found out who the leaker is.
They know.
Uh-oh, wait a minute. Did we go off air? People are saying it's buffering. No, it's working. Charles, they still haven't found the leaker. And actually, Napolitano addressed that as well. He said, you know how investigations work. They probably already know who it is, but they're not telling us. I don't know if I have his confidence. I don't think we're going to find out.
I think they do know. I think it's because it's easier. You can start with, they know that there are only 36.
50, he said, because some of the judges have, oh no, sorry. So Megyn Kelly had some other computer forensic expert with all kinds of litigation support experience, and he said that there's a total of 50 people. Some of the justices have 5 clerks, some have 4, and then there were some like administrative people that may have had access to it. This guy spoke about the possibility that somebody might have hacked it, but he thinks that's a low probability because it uses this type of intranet.
Right, but the point is, Jason, that it's a limited number, whether it's 36, 50, or 100. That's not that many, and you should be able, it's a matter of great urgency. On Thursday, supposedly, the Supreme Court is meeting on this issue. Politico has another story that I was reading before I came over here, which cites 2 people close to the Supreme Court as explaining what's going on in the Supreme Court now. How are they still leaking to Politico?
Right.
That's to be something, you have to be really stupid now to be leaking to Politico after, people are up in arms that you
Or
leak to
really
Politico.
convinced that nothing is going to happen to you. Because there's so many people who have done things that when I look at them, I'm like, how could you possibly take this big risk?
Because the fix is in, you're saying.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Speaking of JP Morgan's house,
there it is.
nobody was. That's actually a pretty modest house if you think about it for somebody who was as rich as he was.
What would that cost to buy now? $200 million bucks?
Easily.
Yeah, so that's
You
fancy.
can get COVID testing there if you want.
What?
Please,
You can
go.
do whatever you want. Your sidewalk, sir. It's your sidewalk. And if we do something you don't like, burn it down. That's the new method.
None shall pass.
We should have told him, yeah, you can pass $5.
Right.
Oh, no.
Okay, 1 Bitcoin.
These livery cabs, they just drive right, it's Ubers.
Right.
Driving just right into
Stupiders.
the,
Not Ubers.
because they're probably coming from New Jersey and they think that this is Newark or something.
Well, many people don't know the rule about these, and these supposed, in England they call them zebra crossings. You're really not supposed to. If somebody
Have your
puts,
car in it at all.
if somebody puts a small portion of his or her body, or its body, into the zebra, the car is supposed to immediately come to a stop.
They never do that.
And they never do that, of course not. because they think, well, this is the lawless fake city of New York.
It's really quite disturbing, Charles.
It is indeed.
So do we have any other topics that we wanted to discuss?
Well, I think you wanted to talk about Twitter.
Oh yeah, right. So
So
let's
what's
see what
happened-
it's doing.
It was
Bitcoin is in trouble. It went below 30,000 while we were walking.
Twitter was at 46 and change when I looked.
Yeah.
So from the beginning when we started talking about this,
4609, Charles.
Yeah,
it's
so-
plunging.
so it's basically, what's happening here is that the tech sector as represented by NASDAQ, NASDAQ, which I think was at the peak in last year in the fourth quarter, was up around 17,000, 16, 17,000. It's now around 11,000. So that means all technology stocks have fallen, most of them. And Twitter has not, because of the Musk offer. Twitter has not.
So that's pretty strong.
Well, no, it's because people are, the bet is the thing holding it up is the theory that Musk is going to decide to perfect his offer at 45.20. Earlier, in the last
5420.
54.20, sorry. A number of days ago, a couple of days ago, I think, a very famous and well-respected analytical firm called Hindenburg, named after the blimp that blew up, but its specialty is identifying overvalued and fake companies, which it has done. Looked more carefully, somehow got access to the pitch book, which
What
Musk,
pitch book?
Musk's bankers are around trying to scare up people to participate with him in the bid. And so there's this slide presentation which Hindenburg shouldn't have, but somehow got, or got access to. And when you look through something like that, what sophisticated investors will do when they think about buying a company, you don't pay for the dream, right? You pay for what's there. If you're gonna change things and you're gonna change the business model, that's your risk, your capital.
Yeah, we
you
don't
should
know
get
where
100%
that's
of
gonna
that
go.
upside. You don't start saying, I need to pay you for the opportunity to realize
It's a risk.
to realize my dream. And I have a suspicion that that's where Musk and his advisors are right now. They see that generally, Facebook is way down. It's called Meta now. Alphabet is down. Netflix is down 80%. A lot of companies, the tech sector is basically bleeding. And he has this bid in which looks to me to be overvalued. So the risk here is that Musk goes to the board and says, or his advisors would, and said, when I made you this offer in good faith, it was before the earnings release. We don't know what back and forth there may have been with Musk, whether he was given a preview of the earnings release or not. Likely he wasn't. He can legitimately say this is not as advertised. Not lied, it's just conditions have changed.
But didn't they lie about the average daily users? They admitted
in the past. Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't know if they lied to him about something specific, but my point is, I've done this many times, and when it's legitimate, you negotiate in good faith. The other side hides something from you that they should have told you, and you say you've got a simple choice. You could have nothing from me,
or less,
or you could have less, and I'll close in 20 business days. And I've got the cash right here, and you don't have to worry. There's no financing risk. There's no deal risk, but it's not.
He's got an extra added incentive in that if he walks away mad,
Right.
Twitter will be permanently stained. And whatever he does next is where all this enthusiasm surrounding Twitter will go.
Right, and there's $1 billion fee that he has to pay, I think, if he walks away. But it's better to pay $1 billion and not lose $44 billion.
Right.
And he wouldn't just.
Who does he pay that to? Twitter?
Yeah, I think to the company, I believe. So, anyway, what the market is saying, I believe, and I don't exactly know, but I interpret this, the market doesn't believe there's a 54-20 deal coming, but they don't believe that nothing's coming. If they thought nothing was coming, the stock would be trading at 33, as it were.
33.
I picked that on purpose.
But that is likely where it would, somewhere around there is where it would go, because that's...
Right. And this is why, when I look at, I miss out on the Twitters, the Facebook rocket ship, all this kind of stuff, but I don't invest in dream stocks. I like to invest in things that have a history, that have a customer base, that pay a dividend, And fortunately, I suppose I would say this even if it's not true, but it's true. On Friday, I sold a fair amount of the stuff that I own, thinking that I just didn't like the tenor of the market, and I'm going to be putting that cash on the side for a little bit and wait and see what happens. So far,
That's
it
so
looks pretty
funny. Because I mean, the dollar is also screwed up, so everything is going down.
Well, no, the
Gold-
dollar's going up. The dollar is strengthening.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because you look around the
And
world.
how do we have inflation if that's happening?
Well, because again, there's the issue of wealth stocks, not shares, but your net worth needs to go somewhere. You need to put it in something. You need to pick a country and a
People
currency.
still want dollars.
Well, they want, as bad as the legal system is here, it's better than it is in Germany, better than it is in the UK, better than it is in Japan. So you've got people who, with substantial wealth, whether they're institutions or individuals, you don't have realistic alternatives to put a lot of money away now. And so you're kind of stuck in dollars and gold and things like that. Gold has been hammered. Gold is now, got it close to 2,000. It's about 1830, 1840 when I checked it this morning.
Huh.
So, but the dollar against the Chinese currency is soared. Europe is, obviously because of the war and other reasons, people are looking at the European currency and saying, F that. So you don't really have, you have opportunities to put $10,000 somewhere, but not if you're, if you're Allianz Insurance Company or JP Morgan
Right.
Bank or whatever, and you're playing around with trillions of dollars.
You got to buy buildings around here or something.
Yeah, you got to find a place like the United States, and for the moment, that's it's the least dirty shirt in the laundromat.
Yeah, but the whole place smells like a hockey locker room.
It does.
And yeah, Bitcoin is getting repeatedly stomped.
Right.
It's below 29,000 now. It's
Right.
just totally racing to the bottom, and Ethereum is also not doing so well. So I don't know, all these people who said that crypto is a brilliant thing, seems like they don't really know much more than anybody else.
Exactly. It's the real question is always compared to what? You look at crypto's good, or what are you comparing it to? What are my options other than crypto? And I'm simple-minded and very stubborn by nature, but also because I'm ancient, I'm even more stubborn. And that is that if I'm going to participate in a for-profit opportunity, I don't want to be the only schmuck in the room who's not getting a current return. I want a dividend. If the management is going to get salaries and bonuses,
Right.
and the directors are going to get directors' fees, why shouldn't I get a dividend? Why can't you run this business? I'm only investing in established businesses. Why aren't you strong enough to pay me an annual rising dividend the way so many companies do? And it's that's the way I work. And crypto, I suppose somebody could create a crypto fund.
Yeah, they did, I think.
It sold a portion of its holdings every quarter or every month.
I think
and
somebody has that.
And pays you the equivalent of a dividend, but that's not really what I'm talking about. That's not a dividend. That's just a
Trick to make people
it's a
feel
magic
that.
trick. Not particularly good magic trick.
Well,
So we get you some. This furniture here is very expensive. Christian Liège, French. And to
very
me,
white.
this looks like the kind of stuff you do when you got a crappy piece of furniture that you don't want to throw
Cover
out.
it with
You
that
just
cloth.
cover it. You go to the Container Store or wherever you get these slip covers, and you put it over that. That probably is $10,000 for all of
I
that.
feel like if you walk in here, NPR is playing, and it's going to sound very
All right.
calm and good, but I don't want to buy anything there.
Would you like a Perrier and some?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's an expensive place.
it is. It is. And this area used to be sort of tumbleweeds 40 years ago, and it's been brought back as a high-end residential and interior
Prostitution center.
Well, that's what it was, prostitution, but now it's more it's interior decorating, which I suppose could be prostitution as well. A form of it, anyway.
No kissing.
Yeah. What is this?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Colombia, Charles.
It's a gem of the ocean.
What do you mean?
It's the song Columbia, the gem of the ocean.
I am not familiar. I think a yoga class must have just let out.
In the Hamptons.
Right.
So yeah, there's the new I didn't know there was a Whole Foods there.
Yeah. I haven't been in there, but we've been by it a few times. I guess it's open now.
I will be by it many times, but I won't be going in it.
It says opening spring 2022. It looks open.
Well, because it is spring 2022. I guess they opened it just for Chelsea.
Maybe.
So I guess we've done justice to Twitter.
Justice for Twitter would be Jack Dorsey going to jail. He's now buddy-buddy with Elon Musk. There was some Q&A where they said to Elon Musk, oh, are you going to let Trump back on?
He said yes.
No, what he said was he doesn't think there should be permanent bans, and that Donald Trump has publicly stated that he will not be returning to Twitter and that he will be on Truth Social. And that's the first time I've ever heard Elon Musk acknowledge Truth Social, and frankly, I think that helped Truth Social quite a bit, because just him acknowledging it, and I mean, if Elon Musk went out on the internet and said, well, I've been watching Crowdsource the Truth, I guarantee lots of people will be like, Crowdsource the Truth, what's that?
Right.
And they'd come over and get on it. It would be nice if Truth Social grows and becomes a good thing, but I keep trying to use it and I find it to be technologically deficient.
Well, I've got old man disease, which is, once you scrunch up your courage to try one of these.
You don't want to get into 50 other ones.
Right, you just say, look, I know how to use this one almost,
Yeah.
so why am I going to bother to learn? No.
Stop! Do not encroach on the crosswalk, asshole! Go crash that fucking thing. He's talking, he's giving me lip.
Yeah,
Just do what you're supposed to do. Don't be yelling at me.
that's right. You're the one who does the yelling, not anybody
No,
else.
I'm just saying he's coming at us with a car,
Right.
and now he's going to yell at me like that's something he should have been doing?
I don't think he's driving that car because he's got marvelous job prospects.
Well, did you notice that he seems to be maybe... Anyway,
Are you a biologist?
no, nothing about his biology.
But you
I'm
said
not a
his.
geologist. Oh, right, good point. Geographist, whatever. What were we talking about before we almost got killed again?
I don't know. Let's stand right next to a
It's a
jackhammer.
beautiful spring day here
Right.
in New York City. Sorry. That's the stereotypical. It's a really nice day, Charles.
Well, I think we're actually steps from where Chelsea Clinton lives with her grifter husband and her, can't call her kids grifters yet, but
Well, I'm
high
sure they'll
likelihood.
grow
I'd say
into
the
it.
griftometer is very high in those kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand these people who are just like, where the hell is that guy going? I mean, he crashes into us. That's going to ruin his life for the next several months, and ours.
Yeah. Well, they just, people, rules don't apply to them. Want to go around this way or
Sure.
show people the quiet side of the park?
Well, there's way less maniacs in this park for whatever reason.
Right, this guy's hard at work.
What, selling weed?
No.
Oh. Right. Oh, they're getting ready for the Rangers game, drinking booze.
Let's be charitable and assume that he started work at 7 and he's just waiting to go to a mentoring program.
Well, they were both wearing Rangers
Well,
jerseys.
I was talking about the cop, traffic cop. There's another
Oh, I didn't see him.
blue shirts.
Yeah, everybody's excited for the Rangers game.
Right.
Were there any other topics that we were interested
Yeah, well, the
in?
market, the market meltdown, the market is certainly erasing a lot of its gains since the election of 2020. And the question is how, look out below, how much further down might the market go?
Could go to zero.
I don't know, it would never go to zero, but it could go down a lot more than it has.
Bitcoin could go to zero.
Bitcoin should go to zero.
Tesla, Twitter, these things could go to zero.
Tesla is down from
It's very low.
Just
It was
below
like below
800.
800.
760, I thought.
Well, it's not low. It's still overvalued by what most analysts would say, but it's a lot lower than its high.
And Ford, my God, down at 13 now.
Well, they got hammered because they had invested a couple billion in this thing, Rivian, which was supposed to be making this
Right.
electric pickup truck, but they are having supply chain problems, and although they were able to make some really impressive prototypes, they had some announcement where they said that they're not going to be able to meet their manufacturing targets by one quarter.
Right.
Like they said 100,000 and they're making 25,000 or something like that.
Right.
And then also Ford separately came out with the F-150 Lightning that everybody says is like the best electric thing. And then now they just had a surprise announcement the other day that it has like a 20 or 25% boost in range from what they had originally said.
Huh.
So I don't know why they need Rivian, but yeah, I don't understand why Ford. I don't know anything about stocks, Charles. I like Ford. The company is good. The car is good. Ran into a problem. They solved it better than almost any other company I've ever seen. But you're pointing out, and the stock market seems to agree, that it's going in the toilet.
Well, most car companies, parking Tesla for a second, the car industry is a very difficult industry because there are precious few people go and write a check to buy a car.
It's all
They
financed.
all depend on seller financing or bank financing, and the cost of that soared in the last, bite me here with this soaring inflation. And that's before you get into the issue of car insurance,
Right.
where the rates are likely to go up for that too. And there's a relationship between gas, of course, and maintenance, but there's a relationship between your credit score and your car insurance costs. So as the
Why is
consumer,
that?
that's just because people with poor credit are deemed to be higher accident risks.
Wow.
Don't maintain their cars as well.
Just less responsible in general.
They delay needed repairs, et cetera, and studies over many tens of
Actuaries.
thousands and hundreds of thousands of people show that it's a fair thing to do. Of course, the credit card companies and the lenders are always looking for a way to screw their customers.
Right.
It's such a crap business.
Courtesy of Joe Biden.
Yeah, exactly.
MBNA.
Right. And I think it's DUMMY.
The dog shoes are just super popular lately, Charles.
Yeah. Now this fellow here is unlikely to be
Your friend?
a preferred client at JP Morgan
Yeah.
Chase with a platinum card.
Private client.
But this area actually in 2022 is a fancy neighborhood, as you know. It's been
You might not know it from looking at it.
well, it's got primo garbage piles.
Right.
It's got a lot of buildings have been fixed up. There are a lot of buildings that are big inside. You can, nice, interesting apartments.
Here's a lovely fixer-upper, Charles.
Next to an outdoor parking lot.
Conveniently located next to the Tastes Good Chinese restaurant, also out of business.
Doesn't taste very good anymore.
No. And I think
Well,
there's
you
a
got-
dog university. Yeah, there's a dog hotel here.
You got HG Stones, whatever that is.
They're going to change it to HG Stoned any day.
They don't
because
need to change that.
Other than donuts, fried chicken.
It's where you get your
you know.
stone, for your kitchen.
Yeah, weed.
Neolith, the size.
The tile is free, but the weed is $80,000.
That's right, but you get a hat with it.
Yeah. You think that
Andrea
guy has paid
Arden.
off the student loans yet
Oh yeah.
with the free weed?
Oh sure.
If you went into the bank and they're like, look, the loan is free, but you got to take $80,000 worth of weed. Wait, here's another Maybach. What the hell is going on today?
It's an
The
ebony and
cops-
ivory one.
Looks terrible in my opinion.
Hey, what is this? Is that intentional? That little circle there?
That's a sonar. Every car has that now to
Yeah.
be able to tell you you're in the lane or whatever.
Have a good night.
It's a sonar sensor.
And what's
or
this?
something. This is a new technology, the mint-free garbage.
And here's some nice luxury fake art.
That is new. That wasn't there.
Is that a Biden? Looks like a Biden.
I don't know. Looks like a Star Wars character.
Can you imagine being the dumbass who actually paid cash for a Biden painting?
Well, obviously it's a not the paint. I mean, the painting goes in the It's the same business model as the kid with the free weed or the free hat or
But
whatever
half
the
a
hell.
mil for a piece of crap art, and you're
It
gonna
just doesn't matter what the item is. It's just like, give me your money. There's weed. There's hats. Whatever.
Right. But if you've ever been around people who are established and good art collectors, it's like anything else. When you develop an expert level understanding of something, and you really know the difference between good art and bad art, and when you should be buying and when it's overpriced and when it's underpriced. To have to welcome you spend that kind of money, either you burn it and don't show it to anybody, or you hang it somewhere, and every time you hang it, somebody's going to come, your college friends, and say, "You bought that piece of garbage?" I mean, that is more artistic.
I was going to say, we got a little street art there.
You could do 1,000 or 100 print count lithograph of that. Shit on the street.
Have the dog stand next to it with the shoes it was wearing.
Shit on 25th Street, and you could try sell. Imagine each one of
Performance art
for 500,000.
It could be performance art, Charles.
It's just pathetic. And here we have. That pizza place actually is.
Two bros.
Yeah. But sitting in that rat.
The wood penalty box.
The rat.
That's perfect if you're going to the Rangers game.
Yeah, the rat excrement holding can. Next to the garbage right there.
Is that Pete Davidson sitting on the fire extinguisher?
Probably.
I don't understand how that guy instantly became so famous. I've never heard him say anything funny.
And he's dating who? Scarlett Johansson?
No. That's the other guy from Saturday Night Live. Married her. Pete Davidson is dating Kim Kardashian, whose ass broke the...
world ass record?
Probably, but the Marilyn Monroe $5 million dress.
Is that right?
Yeah, they split it.
Wow.
Because, first of all, remember Marilyn Monroe, and then
it wasn't as big as that.
Definitely not as zaftig as Kim Kardashian, but if you have a $5 million, I'm not into fashion at all.
I would never have known.
But something like that, to me, why are they even allowing, shouldn't that be in some museum somewhere if it was some iconic, that's the dress Marilyn Monroe wore to pop out of the cake with JFK.
They say, I don't know, so she wrecked the dress?
Well, her ass busted it in the rear.
That's going to be like one of those, your mom's ass is so fat.
But I'm just saying, if you have a $5 million thing that gets broken, it's going to cost something to fix it. Who insured that?
I think common sense and Kim Kardashian don't belong in many sentences.
Lloyd's of London ass division?
Joe Biden jackass division?
I guess dividing an ass is pretty simple. You just right down the middle. But we don't know about that.
I think you need to have a PhD study of that. Right?
Well, the other insurance-related question that we don't know the answer to, you may recall, several weeks ago, there was an angry British activist who climbed up on the BBC broadcasting house and smashed the penis off of Prospero and Ariel. And I don't know who insures the penis on that, or if it'll be fixed.
You ask some questions. You're able to come up with questions that very few other people have on their list.
I know.
Jason's,
Hawkins considers this a limited hangout with the broken penis.
That's right. Maybe the bent carrot people needed a...
That's what I mean. They could sponsor the repair.
Well...
Or Viagra could make it bigger.
That's right. No, the bent carrot people needed it for one of their ads. I like the look of that.
All right, let's see if we have a question from the comments here. We're almost out of runway on today's show. So if we can get one interesting... No one rides the city bikes. No, that's not true. We see a lot of people on city bikes.
Right.
Any questions from our viewing audience? Legal weed? Yeah. Well, I don't know. It doesn't look like the
people don't have inquiring minds.
There's some kind of a delay with the chat, so it'll probably start happening once we end. Antifa rides the city bikes. Somebody says. That's true. They do.
And you see when the temperature goes up 20 degrees, 15, 20 degrees, suddenly there are bikes everywhere, scooters everywhere.
Yeah.
people going in all directions. You got to look both ways for certain before you cross the street.
And behind you, well, I don't know, we might be out of luck for questions from the
Alright.
comment section, but thanks for watching, everybody. Please become a sponsor on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. There was a great episode with Lee Stranahan on Sputnik Radio yesterday. I'm the guest host on Tuesdays now.
Great.
And Lee had some really wonderful guests with tremendous insight into what's going on. One author named Dmitry, I'm forgetting his last name right now, but he's Russian born, living in Moscow, grew up there, really had a lot of intelligent insight, so people can check that out.
Good.
And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Oh, I forgot to tell you about my conversation with Oliver Buck Revell. Did you know what the actual original, what FBI stood for initially?
No.
Feckless bunch of idiots. Thanks for watching.